Hello and welcome to Reviews and Info. I'm hiding from a bully, and this is One Bad Apple. Yep, the next episode of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic that I saw on my journey to discovering the series was One Bad Apple. This episode introduces one of my favorite of the minor characters, Babs. I know a lot of people don't particularly like her, but I found her New York accent and attitude to be pretty interesting. And I also like the fact that she's a tough cookie who was bullied back home and eventually saw the light after making some mistakes and was able to remain tough and stand up against other ponies when she needed to help back up her friends. I was also glad to see her return during the Apple family reunion, even though I was disappointed that they didn't do a whole lot with her character after that. And yes, I was disappointed that her character wasn't used, mentioned, or even in the background during Rarity Takes Manhattan. I know it wasn't supposed to be a Orange Family episode or a Babseed episode, and it was supposed to focus on Rarity, but all we needed was a background appearance or a mention of her in the dialogue. I think a lot of fans were expecting her to return in that episode, and a lot of fans were disappointed she wasn't there. But we're getting horribly off track. The episode One Bad Apple is about Apple Bloom discovering that she has a cousin named Babseed, a pony that until now we've never heard of. And frankly, for me, that part doesn't matter because I've never heard of any ponies before now, so having her introduced out of nowhere with no build-up doesn't make much of a difference to me. The fact is, this is the episode that we're getting to see her in. And I was pretty excited to see the episode bring in a new character, despite the fact that I hadn't yet seen a lot of episodes. I always enjoy seeing new characters come onto a series, especially when she's being invited to be the fourth member of a group of 3 very close friends. Unfortunately, the CMC don't get what they expect from her. It's very clear that they're expecting her to join their group willingly. What they don't realize is that she's feeling a little self-conscious about not having her cutie mark, and she decides to join the bullies in order to stop being bullied herself. This leads us to a sequence of the Cutie Mark Crusaders avoiding Babseed while they sing a song about it. A song which I kind of find enjoyable, despite the fact that I fast-forwarded through it on my first viewing. After the song, we find the Cutie Mark Crusaders returning to their clubhouse only to have the bullies take it over. And we see the bullies take over their float as well. This leads to the Cutie Mark Crusaders rebuilding their float with a very epic A-Team style building montage, which I appreciated when I saw it. Next, we see the Cutie Mark Crusaders entering the parade with their float, with the intention of tricking Babs into stealing the float from them, so that they'll further trick Babs into driving it out of control off a cliff into a mud puddle. We hear in the background a piece of music that I didn't catch on my first couple of viewings of this episode, as it's a return of the Pinkie Pie polka, which made its first appearance during Swarm of the Century. It's a nice little callback, and one that I appreciate. After Applejack tells the CMC Babs' backstory about how she was bullied and how she joined the bullies to avoid being bullies, and the fillies figure out that they're themselves becoming bullies by treating Babs this way, they rush off and do the right thing by saving Babs from embarrassment and taking the embarrassment themselves. As the story draws to a conclusion, Silver Spoon and Diamond Tiara are again bullying the CMC, to which Babs stands up for them and intimidates the two girls into falling off of a ledge into a mud hole. Now, the moral of this story is two different morals. The one that's said is when you're bullied, tell an adult. The one that's not said is don't seek revenge when you're put into a bad situation. I like both morals personally. I know some people tend to disagree with me and say that it's not a good moral to tell kids who are being bullied to tell an adult when they are bullied, because sometimes that advice can backfire. But it's still good advice nevertheless. The problem with bullies that you can't convey in just one episode of any series is that they're highly complex. The relationship between bullies and victims is a highly complicated relationship, and there is no one solution to dealing with bullies. I could get on a soapbox and rant about the bully versus victim relationship, having been in both ends of it myself. But I also don't want to give advice that may not be good or may not be agreed with. So the best thing I can say is that every situation that deals with a bully-victim relationship is different. Sometimes the solution is a single solution that's very clear and obvious, such as telling an adult, and other times the solution to your problem is a little more complex. Each person has their own different reasons for bullying, and each victim has their own reasons why they were a target of the bully's actions to begin with. There's so many different ways to deal with a bully that it would just take hours to describe them all. So instead of talking about it in the video, I'll open up that conversation in the comments section. If I'm asked to go into it in more detail, or if I feel so motivated to do so, then I might come back and have that discussion. But this is a discussion about the episode itself. I found it enjoyable, and when I finally did sit down to listen to the song all the way through, I found that enjoyable too. In fact, the song does do some world building, as it canonizes the existence of movies in Equestria. I'm not sure how much of that song to take as literal interpretation and how much of that is figurative imagery, but it definitely does some world building, and it has some cool stuff going on in the background as well. I wouldn't call One Bad Apple or the Babseed song the best of season 3 or the best of any number of seasons, but I definitely elevate it above where everybody else puts it, just because I did enjoy the Babs character. I don't know, something about the tough New Yorker attitude she had that I admired. She's kind of like the Fonzie of the Ponyverse, so to speak. Although I could easily see that Honor doing the Scootaloo as well. Either way, yep. Babseed, definitely a character that I enjoyed and one that I want to see come back. And with a much bigger role than she had in Apple Family Reunion. Now, while I can't guarantee it'll be my next episode of my YouTube uploads, the next episode of my Little Pony journey is Magic Duel, wherein we finally get to see one of my favorite characters, and we get to find out why I like that character. Stay tuned to find out if this mysterious favorite character of mine is A. Snips, B. Snails, C. Trixie, or D. Zecora. Thank you for watching, and good night.